Jackson. Guys, remember, if you join this podcast and you have not hit that subscribe button, please do so. I really appreciate it. I am trying my hardest to get to 8,000 subscribers, so I really appreciate that so much. But guys, today we're going to talk about those Los Angeles Lakers. Just all about the team, the rotations, things like that. And then we'll get into um, some other things as far as the latest on Coach Vogel, trade rumors, and stuff like that. But first, I just wanted to get into. There's a lot of speculation about the Los Angeles Lakers, so I just wanted to get into the numbers. The Los Angeles Lakers, they're 500 on the season. They're 22 and 22, eighth in the NBA Western Conference, right? They just got off a big win versus the Utah Jazz. However, their offensive rating is 108.7, which is 24th in the NBA. Guys, that's bottom six in the league. That is not acceptable. It's very bad. And I know they have offensive problems, but I really do think they have some effort issues on defense. Surprisingly, their defensive rating is 110.1, which is 17th in the league. I don't give a dang what that says. I just do not trust that our defense is the 17th best defense in the NBA. We go through stretches of where it's just not good. It doesn't do well at all. At times, there's no effort to get out on to close shooters. Now, part of that I want to get into is personnel. I was a bit taken by Monk not starting in the last game versus the Utah Jazz. And I was a bit taken that in the first half, I think he only played 8 to 10 minutes. I was very surprised by that. He's instant offense. But the defense was better versus the Utah Jazz. My only thought process to Vogel is he was trading defense for offense. That's kind of what I thought. And it worked out. They held one of the most efficient offenses in the league to only 96 points, less than 100 points. And it worked out. Now, I don't think Vogel has done well with rotations at all, but part of it is personnel. You didn't have to let go of Caruso. That's on Jeannie Buss not wanting to pay the luxury tax. I understand that. But the fact of the matter is, you didn't have to let Caruso walk. That hurts your defense. I understand the trade for Russell Westbrook, but I'm talking about despite the trade. So the trade is over. You did not have to let Caruso walk to Chicago. You did not have to sign DJ, who honestly isn't an NBA player anymore. He's just not at all. He's not an NBA player. Dwight Howard, he's older. He's much more helpful than DJ. DJ's not an NBA player. But Dwight is still up there in age. He's got to the point to where he kind of fouls quite a lot, and so he can't get that many minutes at times. But he's much better than what DJ is. You didn't have to bring in DJ. You did not have to let go of Caruso. There are just things that they've done. Avery Bradley, look, I get it. The reason why he plays Avery Bradley is Frank Vogel trusts Avery Bradley. However, I don't understand for the life of me why he believes he should start 3 guards that are 6'3" and under. Russell Westbrook, at most of the time, is the third biggest player on the floor. Because although Malik Monk is 6'3", he's a scrawny 6'3". That's just the truth. So therefore, explain to me why Russell Westbrook is guarding Aaron Gordon, who's 6'8", 6'9", maybe. That's the problem. Is as good as Avery Bradley is supposed to be on defense, and I think he's past his prime. I really do. I think I think Avery Bradley's past his prime. He is not the defender he used to be. There are straight line drives right past him for him as well. It's just the truth. He works hard. He hustles. I understand that. But he's 6'1", if that. And he's just not what he used to be. Your third biggest player is Russell Westbrook at 6'3", 200. It's just not going to work. And part of it's personnel. Look, Pelinka, Jeannie Buss, they built this roster, and I think they're getting a pass. They want to throw this on Frank Vogel, and we're going to get into Frank Vogel in a little bit. They want to throw this on Frank Vogel. Look, Frank Vogel, I do not think is the coach for this team. The roster is way different than the one he won a chip with, and I think he has no idea what it is that he's doing. That's honestly what I believe. However, it's not his fault he has to play DJ. He had to play DJ. It's not his fault that the other big he has is Dwight Howard. It's not his fault that LeBron James got injured and Anthony Davis got injured. It's not his fault they let Caruso work. It's just not his fault. That is not his fault. But what he does with what he has is egregious. It truly is. You should never start those three for an extended amount of time. Monk, Russ, and Avery Bradley. When he puts THT out there with Russ, that's even worse. In what world do you think that makes sense? Honestly, look, THT, he may have great potential, but on this particular squad, you're having a lesser version of Russell Westbrook on the floor with Russell Westbrook. Now, explain to me how the hell that makes sense. It doesn't. So, it's just one of those things where. Oh, hold on, guys. Let me get to. Sorry about that. It's messed up, guys. Sorry about that. All right, there we go. I got to get back to you guys' stream here so I can see. Sorry about that. All right. Anyway, so yeah, so I don't think that Vogel does a great job of what it is that what he does with his lineups. Those three should never be on the floor at the same time ever. DJ should just never play at all. He's not an NBA player anymore. When I saw him in the game the other day, I don't understand why he's out there. Dwight Howard needs to play in certain games, of course, Gobert, things like that. I do understand. At one point, he had a lineup of Russell Westbrook, THT, Avery Bradley, Stanley Johnson, and I forget who else. But none of those are shooters. And so when you have these redundancies on offense, like I get it, Stanley's a good defensive player, and I think he should play. But why do you need Avery Bradley and Stanley and Russell Westbrook in the same lineup? You just don't. You don't need that. It's not something that you have to have. So I think that should his job be on a game-to-game basis, I 100% agree. But I don't agree that this is all on him. I just don't believe that at all. I don't believe that this is all on him. And excuse me. I don't know why you guys' chat just keeps going away here. Okay, you guys do see me. Okay. However, sorry about that, technical difficulties. His job needs to be in jeopardy. His lineups are bad. As soon as that's another thing. I know everyone drives everybody nuts. As soon as LeBron James is on fire, LeBron James comes off the floor. As soon as Russell Westbrook's on fire, Russell Westbrook comes off the floor. As soon as Monk is on fire, Monk comes off the floor. His in-game management, his feel for the game lacks for me. That's my issue with Frank Vogel. If a lineup is cooking, unless they get tired, just let them ride. Just let them ride. There is absolutely no reason to have a lineup that's working well and then just strip them of what it is they're doing and then put in someone that makes no sense of what has been working throughout. That's my issue with Frank Vogel. Now, Getting back to their Lakers are first in pace, right? So here's the thing: is they are first in pace, and that's what's helping their defensive rating. So I know a lot of people say, "Hey, the defensive rating is 17th." What helps that is they're playing so fast. Their pace is third in the NBA at 100.6 possessions per 48 minutes. 100.6 possessions per 48 minutes. Um, and that helps their defensive rating. The defense is not good. What do I think of THT? So THT, he's redundant. He's a lesser version of Russell Westbrook, who isn't as good as Russell Westbrook. I'll put it that way. Does he have potential? Maybe so. Maybe he does on another team. He has a few more years to develop, but the Los Angeles Lakers are on a timeline of win now. That's the thing. I just think he's the same player, but not anywhere near as decorated or as great as Russell Westbrook. That's why it doesn't make sense for them to be on the floor together. Thanks for the question. Guys, I've got a spammer here. I've got to give me just a second. Get the spammer out of here. All right, get rid of that. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, just throw it in the chat. I'm just going live here for the podcast. If you got any questions, just feel free to um, to just pop out a question. I think let's talk about Russell Westbrook. I know everybody wants to hear about Russell Westbrook, right? He's in this shooting slump. Even in the last game, he didn't shoot the ball well, but I thought he had a fairly good game. He didn't make any mistakes. He took care of the basketball and 2 turnovers. He had a dunk that I thought ignited the entire basketball team, the crowd, fans, everything like that. And he had the and one towards the end that pretty much sealed the fate of the game. He worked hard on defense all night, things like that. As far as his shooting, guys, look, I just think that he's in a slump. It happens to basketball players. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't think it's anything to just really be worried about. I think he'll come out of it. He always does. If he gets into a slump like any great basketball player, I do think that the lineups hurt, like I was talking about. If he's out there with no space, it hurts. If he's out there with Stanley Johnson, Avery Bradley, THT, and Dwight Howard, I don't think that you're putting him in a good position to be successful. You put him out there with Reeves, Monk, Dwight Howard, Stanley Johnson. It makes a little bit more sense. Reeves and Monk both are very great at moving off of the basketball, and they also can put the ball on the floor because to hold themselves, and they spread the floor because they can shoot. So a lineup with Russell Westbrook, Reeves, Monk, a real screen setter in Dwight Howard, and a defensive presence in Stanley or Ariza helps you. He can get enough space to operate and be able to do what he does well, which is get to the rim, and not just to get to the rim to score, but to find others. There's a wall there when you play him with THT, Avery Bradley, Stanley Johnson, and Dwight Howard. Now, name me someone that can get to the rim other than LeBron James with that lineup. There's just no space for him to operate. So that's my take as far as Russell Westbrook struggles, things like that. He's in a slump. Lineups could definitely make it better if he can fix that. But what is my best guess as to why Reeves doesn't start? Can't miss TV. I think it's just basically because he's a rookie, and let's get into that. First off, I want to say I think it's time for Austin Reeves, AR-15, to start for the Los Angeles Lakers. I 100% believe that. I really do. However, he's a rookie. What happens with rookies when you get into the playoffs and you're too dependent on them, they tend to make a mistake. What I have repeatedly said about Austin Reeves is, to me, he is well beyond his years. Most importantly, defensively. You can't really name a time where Austin Reeves is not where he's supposed to be on defense. That's what I find most impressive about him. I think it's time for him to start. However, historically, rookies that start and you're heavily dependent on them in the playoffs doesn't usually go well for the basketball team. Same way with young teams. Look, I'm an advocate of. I'm happy for the Memphis Grizzlies. I'm happy for the Cleveland, things like that. I'm so happy they're doing well, but I really expect for them to win a championship because they're so young. I think that's the coaching staff's thought process on Reeves. If you throw him in there now, he might do great in the regular season. Then you're dependent on that in the playoffs, and I just don't think everyone. I just don't think they can depend on a rookie that much. In my opinion, you're 22 and 22. Put the rookie out there. He's sound defensively. He can hit the three. He can put the ball on the floor and go to the basket. He can take charges. He's tough as nails. To me, he should start. He definitely should. But I think that's the reason why the coaching staff is leery. I think it is time right now, personally. Thank you for the question. Can't miss TV. Appreciate it. Two questions from David. Do you think that Monk should always be in the starting lineup? My second question would be, what do you think about Stanley Johnson's defense? So I'll take care of the first one first. Monk, should he be starting? I like Monk starting because he provides spacing. For the most part, when we tried Ellington out there to give Russell Westbrook a 360 some spacing, he had some very cold games. He had games where he wasn't able to shake loose even off screens to get a shot off. So I liked Monk starting because, man, he can fill it up. And he did well in the starting lineup. The only reason why I'm saying you have to choose someone to start is when you get into trading starters all the time, you lose continuity. And I can't ignore they played the most efficient offensive team in the NBA, and starting defenders held them to under 100 points. That is impressive. Do I think that starting lineup should start all the time? No. I actually think they got away with a bad one, and it happened to work out because all the three-point shooters couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. I think Monk should start. Personally, if you're not going to start Austin Reeves, it's got to be one of the two to provide spacing. The reason why I'm an advocate of Austin Reeves is if you've noticed, when Monk is on the floor with Russell Westbrook, he will give him the ball and say, go boogie on him. Russ loves giving the ball, lets him operate. I think that's great for Monk in the second unit, so he can get a lot of those touches. It's hard for him to get a ton of those with LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, and Anthony Davis on the floor with him. I'm an advocate for Reeves. Hit the open three, play great defense, be where you're supposed to be, and move on from there. Monk, although he's a great offensive player, he's just an undersized two guard at 6'3" and scrawny. So he's a mismatch on defense. They were just attacking the heck out of him the last few games. So I understand the switch. I just think it should be to Reeves, not to Avery Bradley, THT, none of that stuff, because they can't shoot well enough. Reeves gives you a two-way player. We play too many one-dimensional players. Reeves plays both ends. That's why I think you have to go with Reeves, although I like Monk a lot. Stanley Johnson's defense, man, it's incredible. So is Austin Reeves. Look, Stanley Johnson got a lot of the hype versus the Utah Jazz because he did all the scoring go Gobert. But if you watch that game, if you haven't rewatched it, go ahead. Reeves was absolutely everywhere, closing out on players that weren't his players to close out with, covering up for other people's mistakes. Just tough as nails. But Stanley Johnson's the same. Both of their ability to be where they're supposed to be on defense is a godsend for the Los Angeles Lakers. Because the truth is our stars outside of Anthony Davis, who will cover up a lot too, and we'll get into that. Sometimes LeBron James and Russell Westbrook, and I'm saying both of them, they can definitely not be where they're supposed to be. Not because they don't know, but because they're carrying such a heavy load. They have to create for everyone. They have to create for themselves. They have to score. And then they got to play elite defense. And they take plays off. And Reeves and Stanley Johnson do a great job of covering that up. Not to mention they're great at the point of attack. The biggest issue with the Los Angeles Lakers is straight line drives, or B, one screen destroying the entire defense. Just one. That's not supposed to happen. That ain't supposed to happen. One screen, on-ball screen, is not supposed to decimate your entire defense. Because of how well Stanley Johnson and Reeves are at switching and or fighting over the screen, it makes the defense so much better, and that's what you saw versus the Utah Jazz. Stanley Johnson's defense, look, he's, in my opinion, it's vital. And they need to go ahead and sign him for the rest of the season. I don't want to see no more 10-day contract. I don't want to see any more. Sign him, that man, for the rest of this season so he can get out there and play that defense like we need him to do. Him and Austin Reeves. God sends for the Los Angeles Lakers. Thanks. Those were two great questions, David. Appreciate it. Yes, I do agree, Lexi, that Reeves is he's big time. He reminds me a lot of Garrison Matthews. If anyone knows about the Washington Wizards last year, Garrison Matthews was a person I always hammered to play next to Russell Westbrook. For some reason, Scott Brooks just didn't want to do that. Austin Reeves gives me that vibe very much so, where you know his energy, his tenacity, his defense, his willingness to do small things, and as well be able to hit the three. Makes him a big time player for the Los Angeles Lakers, and it did last year for Garrison Matthews for the Washington Wizards, and that's what he definitely reminds me of. So now the latest on, I don't see any more questions right now. So the latest on Frank Vogel. So Frank Vogel, it looks like they are saying he's on the hot seat game by game basis, which basically read to me, if he mess up again versus like the Pacers, oh, he fired. That's how I took it. It's, I think I saw a later report that says there's no immediate plan to fire him. Well, yeah, because he hasn't lost yet since he's been on the hot seat. Frank Vogel also seemingly takes coaching advice from like Kurt Rambis, and LeBron James is the one who told Stanley Johnson to attack Gobert, not Frank Vogel. It's stuff like that that's coming out. It just oozes to me that what I think his in-game management is poor. I'm not saying, I am not saying Frank Vogel doesn't know basketball. I'm not saying he didn't deserve his head coaching job. I'm not saying he didn't win that championship in the bubble. I am just saying this particular roster that was built by Pelinka and Jeannie Buss is not the roster for Frank Vogel. And he clearly does not understand what it is he's supposed to do with this particular roster. It was ideal for him, the defensive mastermind, to have KCP, Caruso, stuff like that, all on this roster and play the way they play. He has no idea what to do with a roster who's supposed to be an elite offensive roster. You've got Russell Westbrook, the two-time scoring champion. LeBron James, one of the greatest top 2-3 players ever in the NBA. Carmelo Anthony, one of the greatest scorers ever. Anthony Davis, one of the best bigs in the game. You have them on the same team. Vogel, you're supposed to be elite offensively. That's what you're supposed to do. They have a team that's supposed to bend, not break. Create a ton of turnovers. That's the thing. Are they going to give up rebounds? Hell yeah. That's one of the reasons why you got Russell Westbrook. He's the best rebounding guard ever in the NBA. The best rebounding point guard to ever play in the NBA. Then you add in Anthony Davis, he can go get rebounds. You're supposed to be an elite offensive team. You can't do that playing someone like Avery Bradley, who may or may not even be an NBA player even anymore. He's 6'1", not the same defensively. Every now and then he'll hit a big shot. I'm glad he hit the three last game versus Utah. I'm very happy about that. That's good, but he probably shouldn't be playing. You're an elite offensive team that's supposed to bend, not break, create a ton of turnovers, athleticism, blocks, get out in the break, run. You tell me who the hell's stopping Russell Westbrook and LeBron James in the open court. Name one team going to stop Russell Westbrook and LeBron James in the open court after a ton of turnovers or block shots. The answer is no one. The answer is no one. Lean into your offense and play two-way players around them, like Austin Reeves. When Anthony Davis comes back, Anthony Davis, you got 360, you got Austin Reeves. We'll get into targets. You got Stanley Johnson, you can play him. Ariza, you can play him. Defense, offense. He's starting to kind of come around. Look, guys, he's up there in age. He missed most of the season. He's kind of starting to get his legs under him. A couple of times he played well defensively, but then committed a foul in Utah. And I was like, come on, Ariza. No better than that. But that's what you want to do. They're supposed to be elite offensively, but they're not supposed to be this doggone bad defensively. That's all effort. So you play people like Reeves. You play people like Johnson because they're going to give it all that they can on the defensive end, making up for when inevitably Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, they take a play off on defense. Should they? No. But guys, it's going to happen. Can't miss TV. You hope that Mike D'Antoni. Yeah. Yeah, I've heard the whole he needs an offensive coordinator angle before. That's fair because I keep talking about here's my problem with that. Yeah, you can converse with me here and tell me what you think. What is Frank Vogel known for? His defensive acumen, correct? Okay. They are ranked 17th in defensive rating in the NBA. And we all know a part of that is because of their pace of play. They're third in pace. They play so fast. When you watch the games, and because you gotta take the stats and you gotta do both. Eye test. When you watch the games, I don't think any of us think they're an elite defensive team or a good defensive team. We think defense is our main issue. And we're giving up a ton of points. I think we're 30th in giving up points, though. We're 17th in rating, but 30th in points giving up. But that's, again, pace of play. What is Frank Vogel's its defensive acumen? Well, our problem is our defense. So that's the only reason why I get where people are coming from with we need something new. We need a new voice because it's his specialty. That is the Lakers' issue. Now, part of that is, again, LeBron James and Russell Westbrook, they kind of take plays off. There's games where Anthony Davis, when he was playing, where he seemed like he just wasn't into it. I get that. But if you're calling to be a head coach's defense, but your team's issue is defense, it causes me to pause and say, should you have this job with this particular roster? But I 100% where you're coming from Can't Miss TV. Look, he's a defensive mastermind. Why can't you just get an offensive coordinator like in Mike D'Antoni, who I understand where you're coming from? Russell Westbrook was 47% from the field, 52% on 2-point shots. That's including jumpers and at the basket with the Houston Rockets. One of his most efficient seasons of his career, Russell Westbrook. So I understand you saying, can we just get Mike D'Antoni kind of as offensive coordinator and kind of play an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator role between the two? I definitely get that. I think that bringing on MDA would help the offense, but he's been in charge of this defense the whole time. So I don't know. I don't know if it helps the defense, but I always go back to it's kind of personnel. If they can, let's talk about targets. Jeremy Grant just came and said, look, he doesn't want to go anywhere where he isn't a primary option. All right, so we're going to just throw him out. All right, JG, I loved him with Russ. He's not going to be that in LA. So, another spammer. Let me get rid of this spammer again, guys. Sorry about that. All right, I reported, and we're going to go ahead and I might have to add a moderator here. Okay. All right, Jonathan Evans, man, long time. I'll take your question, man. I appreciate you tuning in, man. I appreciate it so much. Jonathan Evans. All right, so let's I love him first. He's a great basketball mind, guys. If you haven't subscribed to his channel and followed him on Twitter, make sure you guys do that. Yeah, he's great. All right, so he says offense is the main issue. Defense is about what to expect. 17th isn't terrible. The problem is they're even worse on offense at 24th. 24th ranked offense is inexcusable for this roster. I'll answer that. I agree and disagree. I know, here's the thing about defensive stats. There really isn't a good one, but the defensive rating stat is as good as you can get. It says they're 17th. I just watched them, and there's just no way that you're telling me they're a middle of the pack defense when I watch them play defense. Too many straight line drives. Too much where one screen destroys the whole defense. Too much of seeing LeBron and Russell Westbrook just stand there and look at the corner when it's their corner to cover. I think their pace of play helps their defensive rating. And it's leaps and bounds different when Stanley Johnson and Austin Reeves are on the floor at the same time. There hasn't been a lot of minutes of that, but it's completely different. But I do agree that the 24th ranked offense is egregious. This team should be an elite offensive team. Like I said earlier, you have a two-time scoring champion, Russell Westbrook, a multi-scoring champion, LeBron James, one of the greatest players to ever play the basketball game. You've got Anthony Davis, one of the best bigs in basketball. And you got Carmelo Anthony, one of the greatest scorers ever. There is no reason. Malik Monk, he's just a bucket. There is no reason they should be 24th in offense. I 100% agree. And I think that's why Jeannie Buss, Pelinka, they're kind of looking at Frank Vogel and saying, this is supposed to be an elite offensive team. Like Jonathan Evans just said, I don't give a dang about that defense. 17th, it's whatever. But we should not be 24th in offense. Guys, that's on. That is 100% on Frank Vogel. It is on Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss as far as roster construction. But I'm saying this is the roster. It's 100% on Frank Vogel because you keep playing lineups that make no sense. Russ with Avery Bradley, Stanley Johnson, Dwight Howard, and THT is never going to be good on offense. It's never going to happen. It's going to be bad all the time. There is zero space and no shooters. I mean, the amount of times that I'm upset because I see Russ drive and pass it to the corner to some freaking THT or Stanley Johnson. And I like Stanley Johnson, but I'm just hearing a shooter, though. It hurts my head. So they shouldn't be 24. This should be a top 5 offense. Period. It's the greatest scorers, and they have some of the greatest scorers in NBA history, and they are 24. I couldn't agree more, man. I couldn't agree more. Who else we got here? Russell, I'm a follower from Twitter. Who do you think we can trade for and keep our bench pieces, our core bench pieces? You're a follower. I'm a follower from Twitter. Hey, Russell, hey, drop your hashtag in there. I'll say it for you. But I think so. Jeremy Grant's out. We know he wants to be the main guy. I like Jeremy Grant. I think he's amazing. I don't think Jeremy Grant should be a main guy. That's my opinion. But that's what he wants to be. He wants to be a primary option. He's not going to get that with Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James. So we're going to throw JG out. Even though if you looked at the Athletic article, I think the Lakers had the best package for what was out there. That's realistic, but we're going to throw him out. Now, there are 2 targets that I think of, and I want everybody to tell me what they think. Harrison Barnes and Robert Covington, okay? I think I would like Robert Covington more because he's such a good help defender. And man, can he block some shots? And he's pretty good from the outside too. He's an elite help defender. Is Robert Covington an elite on-ball defender? I don't think so. I think he's okay to good out in space versus guards because Robert Covington's pretty tall. But he's an elite help defender. And if you think about all the things that we talk about on defense, it's after a screen, guards get blown by, straight line drive. Then all the rotations come in. Robert Covington is elite at that. He covers so much space. He's long. He gets his hands in the passing lanes. He can block shots. He rotates really quickly. I am thinking about Robert Covington's ability to rotate with Stanley Johnson and Austin Reeves' ability to do the same, with Anthony Davis' ability to erase things the same, with LeBron James able to erase the same, with just an addition of one player. I suddenly tend to think, man, this defense could be very good if we could just get Covington. Here's the issue, is in these trades, you're getting rid of THT. Now, I know that makes some Lakers fans feel they don't like that too much. I understand that. You get attached to your young players. We're in win now. And last time I checked, we're in win now. THT, He may have great potential. He's just redundant on the Lakers roster. Him and Russell Westbrook are basically the same type of player. I'm not saying caliber. They're the same type of player. Having them on the floor at the same time just doesn't make any sense. So you're gonna have to get rid of THT. Maybe get you a Robert Covington. I haven't been in the trade machine. If that's something you guys want to do, definitely I can look into that. But Robert Covington, I think, would be great. David, you agree? Covington as well. That's who I would take. He would just cover some ground. He would erase mistakes, and that's what we need. I also think Robert Covington, I know people are forgetting about this. I think he is good for Anthony Davis. I think he's good for Anthony Davis. He can stretch the floor, so he puts size out there for the Lakers, but he doesn't shrink the floor for Anthony Davis. So I think that he would be really good. He blocks shots, so Anthony Davis won't have to do all the covering for him, for everyone. Anthony Davis' ability to erase mistakes, it wasn't glaring at first because Anthony Davis was playing. But late, when we went on that like 5-game losing streak, it just made me realize how much he erases mistakes. But Robin Covington at 6'7", he's really long. He adds size, so he doesn't make your small ball too small ball. You know what I'm saying? Like the Houston Rockets, Russell Westbrook was 6'3", right? Harden 6'5", Robin Covington 6'7", PJ Tucker 6'5". Like their small ball wasn't small ball. It's like the Lakers roll out miniature ball. Like they're just so mini ball. They're so small, Monk, AB, and Russ, that it don't make any sense. Like your small ball's supposed to be not supposed to be that dang small. But Covington gives you 6'7". Austin Reeves gives you 6'5". Now Russ is 6'3". Reeves is 6'5". Covington 6'7". Anthony Davis is 6'10", I think Anthony Davis is. And then you have LeBron James out there at 6'9", 6'10", 6'11". Now your small ball is like the realistic small ball. And not what the heck you see out there now with 3 guys under 6'3" and Stanley Johnson and whoever the hell else they decide to put out there. So that's my thing on. I think we can get Robert Covington, Harrison Barnes, someone like that. Jeff Green, that's another great one. Would be a good addition as well if he was available for trade. I don't think, man, when you say father time, everything Jeff Green has been through with the medical history, with his age, he's just defying the odds of being his age and going through what he's going through. Jeff Green's just been amazing. Yeah, I think we all agree Jeff Green would definitely he would definitely be great for the Los Angeles Lakers. That's Can't Miss TV. That is a great. I didn't even think about Jeff Green. That's a really good get if he was available during trade as well. But yeah, so he would definitely be good. But you get what I'm saying. If you get those players, your small ball doesn't have to be so small. If you go back, I watched the games 2-3 times, right? I go back and watch it again and again. Then I make clips and I come back and then, stuff like that. And I talk about it on the podcast. They're just too small. They're just picking on the small guy. I mean, Monk, he works so hard, but they're just picking on him because he's just tiny. Veer pick and rolls to get him caught up on the switch on a big or someone who's just bigger than him, Gordon or someone like that, and there's just nothing he can do. He doesn't have the strength that Russell Westbrook does. And what people don't give Russell Westbrook enough credit for, I know some Lakers fans, they don't like him. The amount of times my wife and I are watching these games, we watch all the games together, and we see Russell Westbrook consciously trying to switch with Monk or AB on someone that's much bigger because he has the mass, the strength to kind of stand that. It happens all the time. Sometimes they're caught out of position because he's trying to get to the big. And I just don't think that needs to be the case. He's still only 6'3". Russell Westbrook he's only 6'3". But that happens a lot with him. He tries to kind of switch with them. So he's on a big, let's get one of them on one of the smaller guards to just try and not make it such a mismatch because Monk is just so small, and so is Avery Bradley. That's something that Russell Westbrook does all the time. If you get a Jeff Green, a Robert Covington, stuff like that, and Anthony Davis comes back, all of a sudden your small ball just isn't. Also, none. We'll get into. Look, they said he didn't respond well to increased workouts, guys. I said it a long time ago. I wasn't so sure if Nunn was going to. I wasn't so sure if he was going to play this season. And that also makes the trade market really hard because you're trying to fill THT with none and include him in a package, in certain packages like for Jeremy Grant to make the money work, things like that. And I just don't think I'm still like I just don't know if he plays. He has a setback. So let's say they wait another 3 or 4 weeks before they try to ramp him up or reevaluate him again. It would be mid-February at that time, and then they've got to increase his workouts again just to see how it responds. And by that time, it's March. I'm just not so sure he's going to play, and that was my mindset all along. He would help defensively and things like that, and on offense as well if he was available. I just don't think that he's. I don't know, guys. I just don't. I'm not a believer that he's going to play. Eric Gordon would be good. He's about 6'5" as well. He's a pretty good defender. He can shoot. I'm not mad at that either. I would prefer someone in that 6'7", 6'8", 6'9" range. But if we can't get a Robert Covington or Jeff Green, I can see an Eric Gordon type of player getting that interest as well from the Lakers because he still kind of feels what you need. I tend to think about Anthony Davis, and I think that Robert Covington would really help Anthony Davis. I think he would keep him a little bit more fresh. He won't have to cover so much ground himself, and he'd still be able to create the space that Anthony Davis needs to operate. Something people missed is I think the spacing hurt Anthony Davis just as much as it did Russell Westbrook. If you just got no spacing, it's hard for you to post up. Why does he keep shooting this jumper? Well, you can look at the paint. He can try to post up. They send the double. Anthony Davis has never been great at getting out of the double teams and passing out of the double teams. He tends to turn it over, make the wrong decision. Now, I do think Vogel can make it easy for him by making the reads easy, by cutting, so that once the double happens, the read is easy for Anthony Davis. You hit the cutter or not. It's really that simple. But I think having Covington allows for this floor to be spread, and so it isn't so hard for Anthony Davis to post up and work in the post. So it's hard to do that when you don't have any spacing. So I keep thinking of helping Anthony Davis, and I don't think Gordon helps Anthony Davis as much on defense. I think he still does on offense because he can shoot. But when Anthony Davis returns, he's got to go back to covering so many mistakes. Having someone else long and lengthy who can block shots and cover a lot of space will help Anthony Davis a lot. So that's my thought process. But yes, I do think that Eric Gordon would be special. Now, guys, here's my thing. I haven't looked. If anyone's looked yet, let me see it in the chat. If they part ways with Frank Vogel, who in the world is on the market? What, Mark Jackson? I don't know if we want to do that. I just don't know who is available to take over the job of Frank Vogel. Would they just go to an assistant coach on the Los Angeles Lakers? Will they try to go to a head coach outside of the Lakers organization? Who's available to do that? I can think of Mark Jackson. I can think of Jeff Van Gundy. Stuff like that. I just don't know. I don't know who they go to in that situation. That's always the part that no one thinks about when they say fire head coach midseason. Look, I've got questions of Frank Vogel as well, especially his in-game management, his feel for the game. But who is the option? Sam Cassell? Well, yeah. Mark Jackson, Jeff Van Gundy. Do we want any of those coaches? I mean, I feel like Jeff Van Gundy would just really tick off NBA players of today in my opinion. But Jeff Van Gundy can coach defense. That he can do. Mark Jackson, people have their reasons why they don't want him. Then you're kind of stuck with Frank Vogel, right? So that's always the thing no one thinks about is who do you put in his place if you fire Frank Vogel 44 games into the season. Now, here's my thought process. There's either someone I'm not thinking of or they're thinking of one of those three coaches because you don't put out the report you put out if you don't already have an idea of who you're going to. That's the thing. If they're willing to put out he's on a game-by-game basis, he can be fired anytime, they already have someone on their radar. Now, whether they've already come to that agreement behind closed doors, I don't know. Luke Walton, oh gosh. No. We are not going Luke Walton. Can't you say we've been there, done that? You know what they should have done? They should have freaking got Ty Lue. That's what they just don't get me started on. Don't get me started on the Ty Lue thing. I'm just not gonna go there. But no, not Luke Walton. I hope not. Guys, Frank Vogel just has to play the right players. This should be an elite offensive team, like my guy Jonathan Evans said. It should be an elite offensive team. He's got to lean into two-way players. He is allergic for some reason of. Oh yeah, there is Phil Handy. That's actually a good. David, that's a good. Actually, I like that. Let me think. I'm gonna think about that for a day or two. But he needs to put the right players on the floor. He's allergic to playing Austin Reeves. There's times when Avery Bradley and THT, they played more minutes than Austin Reeves and Stanley Johnson, and I don't understand that. For me, I don't get it. Now, Carmelo, let's talk about him. We can't forget about Melo, one of the greatest offensive players to ever play the game. He's not the same player now. Here's the issue with Melo. The Melo at the 5, that needs to never happen. I don't want to see it again. If I see that again, he should immediately be fired as a defensive coach. The Melo is the worst defensive lineup on the floor. Melo at the 5, and what world have y'all seen Melo try to cover a pick and roll? He don't do nothing right. He can't drop correctly. He can't hedge correctly. He can't ice correctly. Melo cannot play the pick and roll. He can't. It's just I don't know. I think he'd be trying. Well, sometimes. Sometimes I think he's not trying on defense. He can't play. He can't do it. He cannot play the 5 on defense. However, when Melo is on fire, my goodness, has he covered up some bad games by the Los Angeles Lakers when he's on fire. I give him that on the offensive end. If he just catch and shoot, and we all know he's shooting everything. If it touches his hands, it's going up. He ain't passing it. He's been on fire. He can cover up. He does not need to play the 5. And he is part of the problem defensively. I'm just going to put it out there. When he plays, he's part of the problem. On defense, he's just so bad in the pick and roll. Every time he get on the floor, they just include him in the pick and roll. And there's just nothing we can do about it. Because we don't have a Robert Covington. And right now we don't have an Anthony Davis. It's just nothing we can do. It's a bucket basically every time unless they just miss a good shot. All these one-way players. They're one-way players. Melo, one way. THT, oh gosh. I understand his potential offensively. But have you watched THT be lost off the ball on defense? Monk does it too. They be completely lost. Just they have no idea where they're supposed to be. Which makes me look at Frank Vogel once again. But also makes me think you just have to play the right personnel. Ariza, two-way player, knows where to be. Austin Reeves, two-way player, knows where to be. So why in the world is THT and Avery Bradley playing more minutes than Austin Reeves and Ariza? Why? THT, he's made a couple of threes the last couple of games. And he's gotten to the basket a little bit. But let's not kid ourselves. For the most part this season, THT just isn't right for this roster the way it's constructed. Look, 360 ain't going anywhere. So we throw that out. He's redundant. He has not been good. He's been lost on defense. So I don't understand why he and Avery Bradley play more minutes than Austin Reeves and Ariza, who are two-way players. Why is Vogel allergic to playing two-way players? They both can play defense, know where to be, and hit a three. And Austin Reeves can put the ball on the floor and get to the rim himself. I think Ariza's kind of past that time. Either way, they are two-way players. What is THT giving you that is better than what you can get from Austin Reeves or Ariza on this team the way it's constructed? Tell me what that is. Tell me, yeah, trade value. That's probably true. It ain't working out. That's probably true. They're trying to get his trade value up. But I think that long stretch of games where he was just so bad, I think it just made it plummet. And it hurt more than helped. You got to play two-way players. LeBron James was a two-way player. Russell Westbrook, when he wants to freaking try, and he's been all over the place defensively as of late, he's been in a slump offensively. He's been in a slump shooting-wise, but he's been working hard on defense. They are two-way players. Anthony Davis, two-way player. LeBron James, two-way player. Russell Westbrook, two-way player. Austin Reeves, two-way player. Ariza, two-way player. Have y'all seen that lineup out there one time? Just one time. We have not seen that lineup once. Russell Westbrook, Austin Reeves, Ariza, Davis, LeBron. Now, no part injuries, but we haven't seen it at all. Why? Even when why not? Go get Robert Covington. Play your two-way players. Sprinkle in Monk. Sprinkle in, because he's a shooter. Sprinkle in some Monk. In my opinion, they need to sprinkle in a little bit of Ellington because he can shoot. My goodness, can you please make your threes, Ellington? For the love of God, make your threes. You got one job. You got one job to hit the doggone three. I think they should sprinkle that in there. Sprinkle in Dwight Howard when you need him versus certain teams like the Utah Jazz or Denver Nuggets, stuff like that, because they got bigs. And that's what you should play. When you get to the playoffs, you're not playing more than 8 or 9 people. The people at the end of the bench are not going to play. Oh, yeah, and you sprinkle in Stanley Johnson. That's your 9. Okay? You sprinkle in Stanley Johnson. You can sprinkle in Melo because he can shoot too. The rest of them people, I don't want to see DJ. I don't want to see DJ at all. I don't want to see Dwight when we need him. Period. I don't want to see THT at all. I know it sounds like I'm being harsh. He's THT because I know Lakers fans like THT. He's just not right with this roster. It just doesn't make any sense. It don't. I don't want to see Avery Bradley for real. I don't want to see THT. I don't want to see DJ. You play Russ because AD's on his way back. I don't know if you guys heard that. He's ramping up. He's getting close. He should be back on this road trip. We got Russ, Reeves, Ariza, LeBron, Anthony Davis, Stanley Johnson, Dwight Howard, when needed, Carmelo, Ellington, Monk. I don't see nobody else. I don't see anybody else. Then you trade for Robert Covington, and someone gonna have to be put on the back burner. That's what it should be. Period. Don't want to see nobody else. I don't want to see anybody else playing in them games. Start your two-way players. You start Russell Westbrook. You start Austin Reeves. You start Ariza or Covington or who else do we say? Or Green. Someone. You start one of them players who two-way players. You start Anthony Davis. You start LeBron James. There you go. And then you sprinkle in shooters. When you take LeBron off the court, you're putting in shooters. I don't want to see THT and I don't want to see Avery Bradley. When you take off LeBron James and you have, because here's the thing, Russell Westbrook needs to be better. I don't do it. Point blank, period. Scoring wise, shooting wise, make your damn layups. Just shoot the ball straight in the basket. I understand the bank. That's why he's good at it. Shoot the rock, put it in the basket, make your layups, make your free throws, which he made all his free throws last game. He's shooting like 75% as of late from the free throw line, which is good. He's not turning the ball over, which is good. But for my goodness, you can help Russell Westbrook by putting the right lineups around him. Put in shooters, Austin Reeves, Monk, Ellington, alongside Stanley Johnson and Anthony Davis. Now all of a sudden you got space. That's what it should be. Start those five. When LeBron comes off, you put on shooters for Russell Westbrook. When Russ comes off, LeBron's gonna be LeBron. Do whatever you gotta do after that. But I don't want to see anyone else other than 10 players I named. Period. I said I was gonna go for an hour. I'm at 55 minutes. Look, I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. I really, really, really do. Something new I want to try. I want to try to live stream it, see how it went. Since I can now. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know. You guys know Russell Westbrook is a chip at Always and Forever Art on Twitter. Go check me out. And actually, I think I changed it to NBA Players Are Human at Always and Forever Art because some of these people are so mean to these NBA players' families and their personal life. It's just wrong. They're people. Check me out. Let me know what you think. Please, leave a comment if you enjoyed the video. Appreciate you guys conversing. Felicia, he's lost all the time. It's funny. THT, yeah, he's always just, I don't know what he's doing. I appreciate you guys so much. It's the WESTWOLF podcast. Please hit the subscribe button. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. I really, really appreciate it. But guys, as always, until next time, peace.